So yeah, today we'll be talking about protein folding prediction. Like it's been quite some time when this thing started, like protein folding and all. Although like not everyone knows about it, but it's very common and very integral topic for not only the biology or the scientist like departments, but also in the AI, machine learning, because it's kind of a delicate matter and it has basically it needed a lot of improvement from earlier because there are so many possibilities and it was very hard to just manually predict based on the feature. So we'll go step by step what it is and how how this was solved in the like recent few days, like basically. So first we'll start with what is a protein. So obviously everyone knows like maybe they have heard in some science class or biology that it's a macronutrient that is essential for building muscle mass, like for your own body. But it also has much more important features, functionalities, I mean, and and not just for the muscles, but every part of the cell of every living organism. So yeah, like as I said earlier, it's a macronutrient that is essential. And they also carry like some other examples for where protein is used is they also carry oxygen in your blood, which is the hemoglobin, that your eyes detect light, which is the lens, and obviously the muscles that you move, which is kind of obvious. So yeah, those things are also made completely, I mean, mostly of protein. And yeah, they are commonly found in animal products like meat, milk, byproducts, and also present in some vegetable sources such as legumes, which is dal, pulses, and nuts. So if you look very closely into protein, it's actually a 3D structure. I mean, obviously, like you can feel it and all, but it's not like a string or uh, a plain surface. It has a volume basically. So yeah, it's so basically we'll go deeper into how the structure is, and basically each and every protein, uh, because they have different structure and shape, they have different functionality as well. So what this prediction helps us with ki how the protein was made, how it was originated, and uh, like using what sort of amino acid compositions does it make into that 3D structure. So what are proteins made of? In layman terms, it's basically a string of beads that are comprising of 20 different amino acids, which are organic compounds made of carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, or sulfur. So yeah, they combine together and they interact with each other. Like there could be multiple sorts of combinations, like around 200 billion, over 200 billion combinations. And each and every amino acid interacts with the others in a different way, based on the distance, based on the composition, how it's located, where it's located. So these amino acids are the basic building blocks of proteins, and proteins are the building blocks of our muscles. Now, why do proteins fold? So yeah, like if you basically a protein 3D structure, if you pull it out, stretch it out, you will find that it's basically a string of amino acids. And the interaction between these amino acids make the protein fold as it finds its shape out of almost limitless possibilities. So like, yeah, there could be any sort of composition, any sort of combination, and that basically multiplies exponentially to the different types of different shapes basically. And for decades, a community of scientists have been working on a way to figure out a protein shape just from the string of amino acids. Like this is a major challenge in our understanding of biology, like life itself, basically. So what is the problem and why is it important? This is basically coming to the main topic of this session about the protein folding problem and how and why it is important. So yeah, like let's say you have a string of amino acids, combination like one single structure of amino acid, a string of amino acids, and then you know how each and every how each and every amino acid basically interacts with the other. So you'll be able to figure out the shape of it. Fine. But then if the protein is way too big, then it will be very hard to calculate for each and every. It's not just the amino acid that's corresponding to it, but also because it's a 3D structure, it'll be in any direction. There are 3 dimensions. So it'll be top, bottom, left, right, up, front, front and back. It could be in any direction. And the distance also matters. So it was a huge problem, like to solve basically. So bigger the protein, the more difficult it is to model because there are more interactions between amino acids to take into account. Predicting how these chains will fold into the intricate 3D structures of a protein is what's called the protein folding problem. Now, you might have seen the DNAs, like it's kind of like a helix, a spiral kind of thing. It's called the helix. So that is basically a protein itself, and the genes basically, and that plays a huge role in how the protein is composed and how it could basically shape up. So once a protein shape is understood, its role within the cell can be guessed, and the scientists can develop drugs that work with the protein's unique shape. So, like I said, all organisms is built of proteins. Like the most essential part of every organism is the protein. May it be us, our cells, and even the recently occurring pandemic, the cause of recently occurring pandemic, which is coronavirus, the COVID-19. So that the virus is also like made of protein. And with this, like if this is solved, then it'll be very easy to basically break it up. Like right now, recently, they released the paper DeepMind. I'll come to that. And they came up with the solution for the challenge. So yeah, like our future might be a little more brighter, if you say. Like if another pandemic, let's not hope for it, but if another pandemic hits us, it'll be easier then. So how can AI make a difference? So yeah, like as we saw, the genes of the proteins is the most important part to determine what it's composed of and how it's conformed. So the field of genomics is quite rich. Like we have database of for around like half a century, 50 years that we can use to basically train the model and find the solution, like bring more accuracy, because there's more variety of proteins founded now than like let's say 10, 15 years ago. So yeah, the field of genomics is quite rich in data thanks to the rapid reduction in the cost of genetic sequencing. As a result, deep learning approaches to the prediction problem that rely on genomic data have become more like increasingly popular in the last few years. Like more people have been trying to challenge this problem and coming up with the solutions. To catalyze the research and measure progress on the newest methods of improving the accuracy of predictions, a biennial global competition called CASP, which is Critical Assessment of Protein Structure Prediction, was established in 1994. So this organization basically has, like, every year since 1994, every two years basically, they have a competition called CASP. So from 1994 it was CASP 1, then 2 years later 1996 was CASP 2, and so on. And they basically have 10 groups of people who compete against each other to get the most accurate results for the given protein composition. So a protein composition, like protein compositions are given to each team, and then they have to predict their outcome, return it to the CASP, and they will see how accurate it is using they called it the GDT. So the main goal is, like, if it's above 90%, then it basically, like, the challenge is completed. If the prediction is like 90% accurate, more than 90% accurate, it's goal. So there comes DeepMind's AlphaFold. I mean, there have been multiple different approaches to it, but the DeepMind's AlphaFold was the first one that broke the barrier. Like up until before this, until CASP 12, which was till 2016. The average score was around less than 60%, around 50% or so. But DeepMind's AlphaFold on 2018, it almost reached to 60% in 2018. And then again this year, recently, their second version came out, second iteration, and then that crossed 90%, which is like the goal of the competition. So we'll see how AlphaFold works. So what is AlphaFold basically? DeepMind's work on this problem resulted in AlphaFold, which was submitted in CASP 13, 2018. The team focused specifically on the problem of modeling target shapes from scratch without using previously solved proteins as template. They achieved a high degree of accuracy when predicting the physical properties of the protein structure, and then used two distinct methods to construct predictions of full protein structure. So yeah, because of the inadequacy from the previous, the technological inadequacy. So now, because it improved quite a lot, they were able to do much more in the shorter amount of time with so much more data. Because if you see, like 2 years ago, you don't have as much data as you have now. And also the technology has been increasing, improving. So yeah, they came up with this neural network structure where the protein sequence is fed to the neural network, which has been trained from a database with around more than 100,000 data sets. And then it uses two properties called distance prediction and angle prediction to calculate the approximate structure of the 3D structure of the protein. Then they score using the gradient descent, and finally they output the 3D structure. So both these methods relied on deep neural networks that are trained to predict properties of proteins from its genetic sequence. So the first one was this distance prediction, which measures the distance between every pair of amino acids. The second one was angle prediction, which angles between the chemical bonds that connect those amino acids. So the first development is an advance on commonly used techniques that estimate whether pairs of amino acids are near each other. So if they are more closer to each other, then the interaction is stronger. If they're further away, they don't interact as much. The second method optimized scores through gradient descent, a mathematical technique commonly used in machine learning for making small incremental improvements. So it's not just like directly getting the output. They kept on improving through their training processes, the model that they came up with, and then they kept on slowly improving until it reached the level cap where it's the accuracy, like it couldn't be improved anymore, and this resulted into highly accurate structures. So yeah, here's some of the outputs. So the first row you will see is the ground truth, which is the actual protein that they had to, that was the result, that was the actual result, the raw data that needs to be come out. And then the second row is the predicted distance, which almost looks the same. In the last row, you will see basically the GDT structure, like how like the green part is the actual protein structure, and the blue is the predicted one. So it's almost overlapping. So yeah, this model had around 6, like average of 60% accuracy. And like it was almost to the point, but then the atoms were not, like many of the atoms were not in the same, same accurate positions basically. Like it also matters because like it's very microscopic, and like they need to be like, they had to be more accurate. They weren't like sufficed with this. So yeah, like the upcoming year they went for another try with a different approach, and then they basically peaked. They found the solution basically. The fifth for the Along the 50 years of this grinding, they found the solution for it. So yeah, this is the previous average scores, right around 40% accuracy. Then AlphaFold came in on 2018, which got an average of 60%. And in 2020, it reached 90%. So what is next? Like, what can this help in? What can this do basically? So AlphaFold's prediction could enable progress in all sorts of areas, not just in biological, but also in some other environmental areas as well. Like we can understand disease more quickly and develop drugs to fight them, like this one, the occurring one. We could use enzymes to break down plastic waste from the oceans, or even to capture carbon from the atmosphere. Like there's a lot of possibilities, although like we won't know much, but then the scientists also obviously know what is the upcoming future, how it's going to be, and then they can be prepared for it in such a way. So yeah, it basically is the knowledge of life. It expands the knowledge of life for us. And yeah, that's it. So any doubts, anything? Any questions, you can type it in chat. You can ask directly.
So, with the current research, you think any change is gonna come on the drug discovery for COVID? or is it going to be the, we'll have to wait for a new, as in the old trial methods?
Yeah, so because this has been uh, because of this model, basically, like the improvement, like to discover a new drug for any sort of virus or any disease, has become much faster, because this helps in understanding the actual protein that exists in the virus or in that any sort of disease, like, and then basically the origin, and then how to break it down, like what drug can be used to break down such a combination of protein. So yeah, like it'll basically shorten the time.
A similar,
Yeah.
yep, yep. Any similar examples in the, in other industries which it can be applied? I'm seeing it from a practical point of view. Yeah.
So let's say, uh, like I was discussing about the enzymes to break down uh, polythene, matlab plastic. So as we all know, the ocean is filled with plastic, like trash and all. And yeah, like it's very concerning, because it was predicted in like by 2050, uh, most of the ocean, like the water body, will be filled with plastic, and like the ecosystem will be very much degraded by then. And because there's no like there'll be no aquatic life by then, basically. So this will help uh, understand how, like we already know how plastic is, but then it'll also help us develop a drug to break down the plastic in such a way that it doesn't cause any trouble with the existing ecosystem. Like it stays balanced. There's no uh, obstacles, like there's no more additional pain in the already existing problems.
Okay, okay. Perfect. I think that's going to be a lot of leap in terms of our understanding about the helical structures and the bondings, chemical bondings. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Sam,
Yeah. Thank you everyone.
and thank you everyone. I think there's a good amount of people from outside also there. So yeah, thank you everyone. So we'll hope to see more sessions and more interactions in the future.
Yeah, sure. Like every Friday we have it, like around the same time, 10 o'clock, so you guys can join. And yeah, thanks for coming here, everyone.
Bye.
Okay, bye.